Max Verstappen with a dominant win from P14, along with 7 different teams in the top 10 scoring points this weekend. Welcome to the Lights Out Podcast. I'm Nick, joined as usual by Ryan. Let's get right into it. We'll start with the obviously Max Verstappen starting P14. Dominant drive. I think he got, 4 cars on the first corner or something like that. It was like an F122 open lobby. But he ended up winning almost 18 seconds clear of his teammate. And I can't think of a single overtake he had an issue with today.
Yeah, he was pretty dominant right from the get-go. The pace this weekend that he had was just kind of, on another planet. Him and the car that Red Bull put together this weekend. Like we were talking about earlier, Christian Horner did come out and say that he really thought that this was a great track from this weekend, and really all weekend long it proved to be so. And yeah, it was just another dominant performance that I think a lot of people, including myself, saw, just kind of figured Max would continue his dominance coming out of the summer break. And that's what happened today. So yeah, another dominant performance today from Max. So
here's a useless stat.
He was into P1, I think, by lap 12. So he didn't take him long at all to charge through the pack there. So
here's a crazy stat for you. This is only the second time in F1 history that a driver has had back-to-back races that they've won from outside the top 10. Can't remember the guy's name, but I think it was like 40 to 60 years ago. And he went
62 years ago.
Yep, 62. Yep. Yeah, so that is that's kind of a cool little stat. Verstappen obviously driving very strong. We'll see if he can keep up this pace. I think he's still going to be strong going forward. Granted, Christian Horner post-race interview said, yeah, this track really played to their car. It was one of, if not the best tracks for Red Bull this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see a dominant
long straights
and I don't know if we'll see Red Bull win by this much more. I don't think Max will be this far ahead of everyone going forward. Maybe not. But again, this was a track that I think just suited them. But at the same time, Ferrari was way off the pace.
Yeah, all weekend long they were off the pace, and they can't really explain it even to the post-race. Charles and Carlos and obviously their engineers and their pit wall and Mattia Bonino and everyone said that they're going to go look and deep dive into the data over this next couple of days here before they get ready for Zandvoort, and just try to find where they maybe setup-wise cost them some time, or maybe, I don't know. I guess I don't have the answers either, but, neither do they. So they're just going to do the deep dive and see what they can fix, and hopefully they can, close the gap, if any, next race and for the rest of the season. So,
well, it was kind of a weird race for Ferrari. They really didn't have too much. Their strategy was fine. It's not like they had a crazy blunder there, but this is really the first time we've seen Ferrari or Red Bull this far ahead, Ferrari this far behind. It's a really abnormal. Even on the tracks that Red Bull's been good at, it's usually
it wasn't really
closer.
Yeah, it wasn't really Ferrari versus Red Bull today. It was more so Ferrari versus Mercedes. And speaking of Mercedes, had Lewis Hamilton not crashed out with that incident in turn 5 today with Fernando Alonso. George Russell passed Charles quite easily actually, and Lewis Hamilton up there. Maybe Charles falls even further down the standings, and maybe Carlos isn't even looking at podium. Maybe Lewis or George or
that was
today. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Even Carlos was saying he was a little worried there with Russell catching up to him. Russell was flying towards the end. Mm-hmm. He had to eventually back off. He was burning through his battery too much. On the radio calls, he was just having to recharge, and that gave Sainz enough time to kind of find some pace and push through. But the degradation was really high on this track. Again, it was really only Max that found anything. Even Checo, though. Checo didn't have the best degradation. You look at him compared to the other drivers, he was pretty even on tire deg. So I don't know if Max just found the setup or if he's just on another level, but it'll be interesting going into Zandvoort. Ferrari supposedly is supposed to be better for Ferrari. Could we see a Ferrari coming back? They could use a win. They could use the boost. I think it's possible.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible for them to win another race this year. I think Zandvoort would be, if they're going to do it, I think that would be a good track for them to do it at. But I mean, just it's hard to dismiss Red Bull right now what they're doing and what they've done all year long. So I don't know. It's going to be very tough for Ferrari. Ferrari manages to find a win or pull out a win or like a 1-2 or even like at least one on the podium or two. One winner. I guess that'll be a great result. I think for them next week. But we'll have to see.
Well, and it's safe to say, unless something disastrous happens for Red Bull, Ferrari's fighting for second. Leclerc's fighting for second.
Yeah,
I mean, we look at the standings. Verstappen's almost 100 points ahead of Leclerc now.
Yeah, so the Drivers' Championship is all but over, I would assume. You need Max to DNF maybe 4 or 5 races, and even then, you need... At this point, you need Sainz or Leclerc at this point to win all of those races. You cannot have...
And it's not going to be Leclerc.
1-2, so you can't have anything other than that. So I think that's well out of the window. Constructors is looking very, very, very glim too. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see here. I think it's going to be more so Ferrari fighting Mercedes here at the end of the season here, and for P2, and we'll see if they can get the job done there. And then I think really they're going to start setting. I think the next few races, if they don't get a win, at least one win or 2 wins in the next 2, 3, 4 races, that you'll see them start preparing for next year. It was just, we said a million times, it was a season of what could have been. I think at this point today, it was another day. It wasn't their day. So,
and I think Ferrari will get a win, but I mean, Leclerc himself he just looked out of sorts this entire weekend, especially in the race. I mean, granted, he had to charge up, but his times just weren't really there.
Yeah, they weren't, but I think I saw today, post-race, they were analyzing everything. It was because along with his penalty that he received, his sensor was burnt from when he got the tear-off in lap 1 there. From Max, actually, had his tear-off visor went into his brake duct, and that was why he had to pit so early, because his brakes were overheating, and his sensor burnt out, I guess, so that's why he had that penalty. So that kind of compromised his race there a little bit. Not saying he had the pace to, win the race or anything, but I think P4 or 5 should have been the thing. And he was still in the running for P4 or 5, but having pit for the last lap there, or fastest lap on the last lap, was kind of it was just another kind of weird call, I guess.
Well, then Leclerc speeds in the pits lane. Like, put the pit limiter on.
His sensor was burnt, so he didn't have one. So that was what he said. So
I mean, I get that. The same, and maybe I'm being a little overcritical, but you're coming out neck and neck with Alonso. Play. I don't know.
He didn't get the penalty when he was leaving the pit. It was after the race had finished. He'd sped into the lane there. It was post race.
Was it? I thought it was on that last pit when he came out by Alonso.
Yeah, it was post race there. Yeah.
Also, either way though, it's kind of crazy. I mean, going over that though, Alpine, where did that pace come from?
Yeah, they were very strong.
I mean, we look at that first lap incident. Alonso, Hamilton. Alonso had some feisty heat of the moment words.
Calling Hamilton an idiot. They can only drive from first place.
Which is, it's interesting, but which some of that I think is heat of the moment. There's some things. Hamilton,
old teammates.
Yeah, well, and I'll give props to Hamilton. He admitted to it post race. He said, "Yeah, it was my fault." He admitted to being his fault, and he just turned in too early. He couldn't really see him, and I'm happy he's okay because he went flying up in the air there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I'm sure he was.
I thought he had flipped at first, but
he probably had like an oh shit moment there for a second, like why am I flying? But yeah, no, I think Hamilton he showed pace. He could have gone up there. That also, if they didn't crash and they kept going, could we have seen Alonso and Hamilton maybe stick with the front runners? At least Hamilton. Either way, though, Alonso sneaking into P5, Ocon, his teammate coming up, he had a penalty and he ended up in 7th place.
Yep.
That's a huge haul of points for
Alpine. Very crucial too. Yep, for the battle that they're in with McLaren right now. Big haul of points, and McLaren was 0 today, so it was really a worst case scenario for McLaren, best case scenario for Alpine today. It was a really good weekend for them.
And yeah, I don't know what happened to Ricardo, but he ended up, what, he started like 8th or ninth, and he ended up in 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oof, I don't know if there was
he had an early pit.
strategy or what
he
it
had a pit
was.
early or something. Yeah, I think something with his strategy, and he just kind of just after that. I think after the first time he pit, it was just kind of game over for him. Honestly, I don't really know what happened there.
Yeah, well, it was Norris didn't really show pace either.
It's just he didn't have the pace or something. I don't know. But
yeah, well, Norris towards the end of the race, he couldn't keep up with Stroll in the Aston. I know that was kind of old tires, old mediums against old hards, but I mean McLaren, they just even in qualifying, they didn't have pace, and it showed even more here.
Yep.
Which
then
I don't know.
Sorry, it didn't help that he was. They were all behind the Albon train today too, as well. Albon did a great job.
I mean, what is Albon's car like wider than every other car on the track?
Yeah, it was that way today, I guess, and so yeah,
he was. And well, I mean, let's talk about Williams. Albon. I mean, Latifi had his spin. Yeah. Poor Bottas on his birthday gets stuck in the gravel. Yeah. I think Bottas is going to be on for a decent score. I think he would have been in the points.
Yeah.
So I mean, Latifi, meh. He had a 2022 Nicholas Latifi race.
Yep.
Nothing really happened. He spun once, whatever. But I mean, Alex Albon, what a race! Started up in points, finished in the points.
Yeah, he's been solid all year. I think on our weekend preview, I said that again, that he's been making a name for himself on the grid again. I think the Red Bull, his little Red Bull run, kind of, I wouldn't say like ruined him or like made everyone think he's a horrible driver, but I think it would definitely kind of it was just too much too fast, or too early on in his career, and just kind of maybe a little bit of his reputation was a little ruined or something. But
he's doing better than no pressure.
Yeah. So I think he's really proven himself again. It's his third P10, third points.
Fourth. He's gotten fourth.
Yeah, like he's been in a Williams. That's really good. I think that's really good. So. He's been good this year, and it's nice to see him finish the points again. So,
yeah, and he's looked solid. That car had a ton of straight line speed. I know he was locking up quite a bit and doing other stuff in the corners because it was quite windy out and low downforce. But Monza, I think Williams could be on for maybe some more points there.
Yeah, that'd be crazy to see him get P10 again. Maybe, hopefully, maybe
even higher.
Maybe there, and then even higher. Yeah, it'd be really something to see.
It's a much shorter lap, long straights basically everywhere. There's really only a couple spots where you need some downforce. Yeah. He could really and truly get a decent haul of points. Yeah. I think Williams is going to be completely out of the picture next weekend. Mm-hmm. Zandvoort's just there's no straights, which is why I think Ferrari also is kind of hoping they can bounce back. Yeah, because I mean they're really two short straights. Mm-hmm. Everything else, the track is twisty turny. It's I'm sure it's a ton of fun to drive, but it's definitely not going to play to Red Bull and not to Williams. None of those teams that rely on straight line speed. Maybe it'll help McLaren.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see if they can get some turn their season around somewhat here before Daniel leaves, or just in general for Lando or. For him to finish in, P10 or above or something like that would be nice. So we'll see. Finishing the points.
Well, and Ricciardo, he obviously hasn't found a seat yet. We do have news on the Oscar Piastri stuff. They are going to court officially on Monday, which is today, the day of this podcast coming out. We're recording Sunday night, but they'll be doing that Monday. And so we should have news on that by the next race weekend. We'll find out where's Piastri going, but at the same time, if Alpine keeps up this pace, does he want to go to McLaren?
Exactly. Like, why would you want to leave? Alpine, I think, all year long has been a really strong team, really strong midfield team. They've gotten unlucky a couple times, but
especially Alonso.
Yeah, Alonso has gotten unlucky quite a bit. Like, I don't, in that big, that makes you kind of wonder, like, why is Alonso leaving then? Like, what happened? Like, is there something behind the scenes that we don't know about? Like, if Alonso doesn't want to be there and they're showing pretty solid pace this year, and Piastri doesn't want to be there, so, like, what is it? Like, Is there someone there that's holding the cards or telling them what to do? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm not gonna get into that. But,
well, maybe Alonso
sees. Kind of wonder.
Maybe Alonso sees long term staying in F1 another 3 years. He can see himself getting closer to a championship with Aston.
Aston Martin, yeah. I mean, that's right now. As of 2022, that's like hard to see. But with Aston and all their upgrades that they have come in the facility, the wind tunnel, Lawrence Stroll pumping in money like no one's business. Like, yeah, I mean, maybe it's by 2026. Maybe, I mean, Alonso I doubt is going to be in with the new regulations, but yeah, maybe they make a surge in the next couple of years and they're a really good team. We'll see. It would be awesome if they were. So
it will. And this Alpine seat, if Piastri doesn't get it, it sounds like there's supposedly Alpine has 14 drivers that are considering putting in that seat.
Yeah.
Granted, no one's really 100% sure who these drivers are. We know Gasly has an out from AlphaTauri if he goes. He could go there if they offer him a contract. Ricardo, obviously. Schumacher doesn't have a seat. So I mean, there's 3 guys just right there. Latifi still hasn't officially announced he's staying with Williams. I think Williams is kind of biding their time, waiting to see what happens with Ricardo, Schumacher, everyone else. Because frankly, I think if you have a current F1 driver is going to be better than Latifi right now.
Yeah. I think as soon as this Piastri situation, Alpine situation gets resolved, and McLaren's situation gets resolved, I think it's just going to be a domino effect. And I think the reason why silly season got off to such a hot start is because Fernando obviously left. Alpine announced Piastri, then he didn't say, he came on and said like, no, I don't want to be there. And then McLaren, it was really McLaren's court. And they didn't do anything all summer break. Probably, out of respect for Daniel, and probably because they didn't want to be in the drama. So, what could have been a very eventful silly season, I think, is actually getting pushed back maybe a week or 2, maybe 3. And I think towards the end of the season, we're going to see just a plethora of changes, possibly. Not saying anything's 100% going to happen, but I think, as soon as that McLaren C is filled or whatever happens with Alpine, I think there's going to be quite a bit of drivers that make a move. Surprising moves, maybe not, but I feel like it could be a thing. So,
well, going back to the race this weekend, we obviously Hamilton ended up crashing out. He could have challenged Sainz to the podium. George Russell didn't look bad. He was kind of in middle of no man's land.
He's George Russell again all year
Nothing
long.
Crazy.
He's been very, very, very strong driver. It's another P4 to the book. P4s and P5s. He's been collecting those all year long. Like a madman, so he does it again today, and another solid drive. So it's nice to see him battle Charles too. It's something you didn't really expect to see, but he did. And he's just another George race, I guess. You can't really don't have anything else to say about it.
And I mean, we mentioned Aston Martin just a minute ago. Almost double points. Stroll battling Albon for the last 10 laps. His radio calls, he was very frustrated with the team strategy today. I think he thought they should have been in the points.
Yeah.
I don't disagree with him. I think they probably should have been able to get around Albon when he came out of his pit.
Mm-hmm.
For the last pit, he ended up stuck behind both Williams. So he had to fight through Latifi first, then catch up to Albon. By that time, his tires were already shot. Maybe he could. I think he could have had the pace. Vettel. 8th place, he was very strong. Again, he also had
really good for a while there too. And
he also had an unlucky stop.
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna say. He wasn't gonna. I'm not by no means saying he's gonna come out and finish P5, but I think he was P5 for a while there. And then Charles passed him, put him P6. I don't think P7 was P7 Ocon. I don't think that would have been on the question. I mean, granted, he finished P8, so not much, further down. But I think P7 could have been, a place, and then Stroll, had he been able to get past Albon, P10, maybe. So it could have been a very good weekend for Aston Martin. I still think it was.
It still was,
weekend. Yeah. So.
And Vettel, he came out behind Pierre Gasly, which kind of slowed him down, let Ocon kind of catch up and pass him there. But the thing is, Vettel was able to put pressure on him.
Yeah.
There was that Aston Martin showed some very strong race pace. I think everyone other than the Red Bull and Ferrari maybe were struggling to get around Albon on the straights just because he had so much straight line speed. But overall, that Aston Martin was showing some real pace. And if they can figure out their Saturday pace, that's going to be a scary car, which I think is part of the reason
Yeah.
Alonso's interested in going there.
Yeah.
They're
It'll be
showing
very interesting to see him in that car next year. I think it'll be pretty fun to watch him. So
they had a good charge. They've done that many, many times now. We're seeing them. I mean, where's Aston qualifying? The bottom. They're out in Q1 half the time, and yet every single race, they're either sneaking into the points or right around the points. They're right around that 9th, 10th, 11th place.
Yeah, it's just their Saturday. They have to figure out their Saturdays right now. Really, honestly, and truly, they'll be battling for points. So,
which is going to be very interesting going forward because I think the more they get used to the new regulations and whatnot, the race pace is only going up. It's only a matter of time before they figure out qualifying. I think that Aston Martin team is going to be an interesting wrench thrown into the midfield.
Yeah, I think it'd be interesting them fighting for, fifth, sixth, fourth, maybe even with some of the teams, Alpine, McLaren, Alpha, all those teams. So
they're only 10 points behind Haas.
Yeah,
5 points behind AlphaTauri. Haas hasn't looked good. They've had back-to-back struggling in races.
Mm-hmm.
They need a bounce back. Maybe next weekend will be better for them. They're more of a Ferrari power kind of team. Yeah. So we'll see how they do. So it'll be fun to see them. But yeah, I mean, neither Schumacher nor Magnussen really had any. They didn't do anything.
Nothing much to talk about today, sadly, for those guys. And it's kind of sad because our weekend preview, we both thought they could be on for like a pretty good weekend, but
this
wasn't the case. So.
What did end up looking well, though, was the AlphaTauris. Yuki Tsunoda, pit lane to P13. Finally. He was up in the points for a while. He just couldn't quite make his tires last. Pierre Gasly.
Yeah.
So this is crazy. So going on to the grid, everyone's like, okay, his car's there. There's a bunch of mechanics around it. What's going on? And then all of a sudden, camera pans back over, and the car is just not there in the pit lane. Apparently, what had happened was they couldn't get his engine to go. His engine wasn't starting.
Just like 90 seconds. In Spain, huh?
90 seconds before the race started, the engine just all of a sudden comes to life.
Yeah.
And the battery, I mean, they get the battery rolling. A few laps later, the battery's kind of worked itself out. It's fine.
Yep.
So he what a roller coaster for Pierre Gasly. But starting for the pit lane, and he ends P9. Almost. I mean, granted, Vettel was 15 seconds ahead at the end, but he was battling for P8 at one point. Points from the pit lane.
Yeah, you don't see that often. Yeah, Gasly, I'm happy for Gasly because I've been kind of rooting for him all year long, and he hasn't. AlphaTauri season in general has just been a disaster, I think. I don't know what it is this year. They just haven't figured out the car, and it's been unlucky, and Gasly's been unlucky, Tsunoda's been unlucky. It just feels like it's every single week with those guys, too. That is just something that's going wrong, or they're just like out in Q1, out in Q2, Gasly's underperforming, getting unlucky, like I said, just snowball effect of a season. So it was good to see him after summer break here come out and score points right away, because I think that is exactly who Gasly is. I think he's a very good driver, a very talented driver, and I think he should always be scoring points at least at the minimum, like P9, P10 range.
Well, he showed it last year.
On a good day, could be top 5, top 6, really and truly, I do. And so, when he's just signed his contract with Alpha, but yeah, if he was to go to Alpine or whatever team, I think
he would be scary.
Yeah, I think he'll be a top 5 driver for sure in F1. I think he really does have the talent for it. It's just been an off year.
He's got the talent. I think he's rebuilding his confidence.
Yeah.
Like you were saying. And, I mean, I'm looking forward to Monza. This Honda powertrain, that Red Bull powertrain, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
It's looking strong in the straights. I think maybe it was a little inflated their pace this weekend due to that. Just how well the circuit was suiting that Honda powertrain. But
yeah, we'll see. We'll see how Monza goes. It'll be interesting.
He's won there before.
Yeah,
you never know. You never know.
and Daniel Ricciardo last year, so it'd be very interesting to see if Verstappen wins. Ferrari wins at home would be amazing.
Alex Albon wins.
Yeah, Alex Albon wins. That would be absolutely nuts. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see that. I obviously Albon, that would be crazy if he could do it, but yeah, I don't think AlphaTauri is gonna have the greatest race next weekend, but we'll have to wait and see on that. I'm just like you said, we're both happy Gasly's back in the points. He showed it last year. He can drive. and maybe he gets into Alpine. Maybe he waits another year, and who knows? Maybe he ends up going back to Red Bull. Goes to the big team.
With Max, that would be crazy. I mean, be teammates once again. So it'd be interesting. I think this time around, if you were to get a chance with Red Bull, I think you would do very, very, very well. And they definitely would be top 3.
Depending on how Red Bull is willing to cater to him, because frankly, Red Bull is they're all in on Max. Yeah. I mean, we saw that in Q3. Max didn't go out for a second run to help Checo. And some of that is whatever. Some of it, I mean, you could say, "Oh, team orders." I don't think that stuff's been too bad. Obviously, there was none of that this weekend. They didn't need it, but I think part of the reason Checo's finding success in Red Bull is he's been in the sport for so long. He's adaptable. He's a solid driver. His driving style isn't that. I don't know. I like Checo. I don't want to say this in a bad way, but it's not as like dominant as Max has been. Mm-hmm. So I think he kind of understands what he's doing. Yeah. But I think some of that is he's just been able to adapt to the way the car is developed for Max.
Mm-hmm. It was nice to see him score, top 3 again, actually. Just simply because he's fallen quite a bit off from where he was at the beginning of the season, I think. Really, at the beginning of the season, he was really, really crazy. And some of that, is probably because as the season's gone along, they probably catered more towards Max for the car, because Max is obviously, like, he's the guy right now on the grid. He's the man. So, some of that's, how the car's been developed. But it was good to see him like, kind of bounce back, because the last couple of races he's had hasn't been too amazing for him.
Well, I also know Max was struggling with the car earlier in the season while Checo was enjoying how the car drove. So I'm sure between setups and tweaks and Max getting comfortable, and as the year goes on, I'm sure the drivers have evolved. We're seeing that with Ferrari right now. I think Carlos Sainz is the better of the 2 Ferrari drivers right now.
Yeah, I think he's been more consistent overall right now, the last couple races. I think Charles is still a very good talent. I don't think he's... I don't know. I think Sainz is also a very good talent. I think Charles has just been a very, very, very unlucky driver this year. Ferrari in the whole has just been a mess this year. But Carlos, yes, I will give credit where credit's due. He's been a superb driver his last couple races. He's really keeping Ferrari in it, to be honest. But that's not because... other than France, I think that was a really big blunder by Charles. But other than that, I don't really think... It hasn't really been too much errors on Charles' side. It's just been... bad luck, I think, really. And it was Carlos early in the season, and now it's just been by Charles a lot, too. So,
well, and Carlos is 15 points behind Leclerc. Yeah. I think Carlos has a better headspace right now. I think he's more confident in himself. Neither of them have confidence in the team, but it'll be fine going forward. Frankly, I don't think Carlos's side of the garage had too many issues with strategy and whatnot. And I think some of that is just driver personality. I think Carlos is more similar to guys like Lewis Hamilton, Max Verstappen, guys that are willing to like say, okay, I want to do this. I want to adjust my strategy to this. Well, Leclerc has the pace, but it's not to say a bad thing, but he has faith in his team. And right now,
he doesn't really have a killer mentality, and that's the one big knock I have on him is he doesn't really like today. Some of the radio calls that we're coming across for Carlos is keep pushing Carlos, like stop going on the rubber on turn 17, stop going on the rubber on turn 5. Like we need you to do this and this and this. And he'd go on the radio, he'd be like, well, guys, listen, I'm pushing as hard as I can. I don't know what you want me to. Well, I can't do anything else for you. Like I'm pushing as hard as I can. And then you go to Charles on the radio, and they say, well, Charles, like, we have these tires for you. Like, what do you want to do? And Charles is, what do you guys want to do? Or like, well, it's a mistake. It's not as, it's not a big deal. This and that. He just doesn't really have that killer mentality. Maybe he'll never develop it. And I think if he doesn't, it's going to hurt him, honestly, in the long run. If he does, I think he's going to be a very, very, very good driver. But yeah, he just doesn't have that right now. I don't know if it's his confidence is shaken. That's probably what that is. But yeah, I don't know. He just doesn't have that killer mentality. Just be like, look, guys, like I'm doing this, and we're doing it, and I'm the driver, I'm the man here, and we're gonna go through with it. And until he does that, I think it's just gonna keep happening to him, because it doesn't seem like it happens to anyone else.
The interesting part about that was there was some post race talk about Carlos Sainz and why was he being asked to get off all these bumps and curbs, and no other driver's really having to do this. And the interesting part there was that it's kind of sounding like maybe he was showing up some gearbox damage or some minor engine, some engine damage or something. Yeah, something like that. I want to say there was people we were talking like gearbox issues, and with gearbox issues. So the question is, Sainz wasn't. He was falling off along the race went because he had to keep getting off these curbs. But maybe that's part of the reason the Red Bull pace was so much faster. Maybe Sainz wasn't that much. I mean, Max was obviously in a league of his own, but maybe Sainz was actually quite even with Checo, and he just couldn't really push the car.
Yeah, he's pushing as hard as he could today. So yeah, that's a good point. I don't know.
Because if that's the case, and Sainz was having gearbox issues or whatnot, and we find out that maybe that was the issue, well, then all of a sudden Sainz is looking a lot stronger than Leclerc, and he's looking like maybe he's going to be P2, P1 in some races.
Yeah.
If that is a trajectory it's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Charles again today had, he's not. I'm not gonna sit here and defend him to death, but like I'm gonna defend him on like. Him having his race was compromised at the beginning. It really was because he had to pit lap 4, right? Like that wasn't his strategy today, and that messed him up. Like, and then I think he had to pit again, which put him down to last. He basically had to start over twice. At the beginning of the race, and after he pit, he had to start from last again. Like, no one's gonna get. The fact that he got top 5 is good. I really think the only blunder he had to do was going for the fastest lap.
6.
Again. I think that was kind of.
Yeah, they should have kept him out.
But
and he was 6/10 off, or 5/10 off. He wasn't even close. Which I don't know. Is that the Ferrari car, or is that Leclerc, or what's going on, or is it traffic with Alonso? I don't know. What a mess.
A little of everything today. I don't know what they thought they were going to pull away 1 point from Max. I don't know what that would have done. Every point matters, but it's just like 98-point lead that.
It ended up not working for them. They ended up moving down to 6th place. So you just lost more points. Just stay out and get the points. Just get the points. Get P5. You're trying to take away 1 point. Your pit window, you have to have an absolute perfect stop to come out in front of Alonso. And they don't. Yeah. They come out basically behind Alonso. So it's like, if you don't have that clear window, don't take it.
Yeah,
you're risking...
And
you're
Charles
risking
didn't want
2
to do
points.
the fast either on his radio. But he did because again he doesn't have that clear mentality. He was kind of like, well, I don't want to risk it, guys. But he said, I don't want to risk it, guys. But if you guys think it's what I should do, I will do it. He's a very team player guy. It's just like, but no, you have to say, I don't want to do it. I'm staying. We have 1 minute left in this race. No, it's dumb. That's what he needs to do. He's still in the phase of okay. If it pleases Ferrari, it pleases me.
And he wanted to go for 11 points, and he ended up with 8.
Yeah,
I'd take 10 points over 8. You're risking it. Sure, maybe that 1 extra point would be helpful in the constructors, but Hamilton didn't finish. You don't have. Mercedes. You're outscoring Mercedes no matter what. You're not touching Red Bull no matter what. 1 point, really.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Come on. And Leclerc should have known better and just driven forward.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. He just needs to. I don't know what for whatever reason he just kind of doesn't have that killer. No, we're not doing it. I don't want to dog him too much, but it is kind of it is what it is, I guess.
Well, I know we keep jumping back to Hamilton here, but this is. It's kind of crazy. This is his worst track ever. It's just kind of ironic that he just keeps having issues in Spa.
Yeah, it's not a good track for him. He crashed out not last year because it was raining, but
last year was raining, but he got out qualified by Russell and Williams.
Yeah, so yeah,
as did I guess 17 other drivers or 16 other drivers. I guess you can't really knock him for that.
Yeah,
but it was a crazy time last year, and I'm happy we got the warmer weather, not rainy. Spa's been and it's been renewed for next year. Thank God.
Yep.
Hooray. We're going back to Spa. I think it was a great race overall.
I thought it was a pretty good race today. There's action that you want to see.
Plenty of overtakes. Midfield was extremely tight.
Overtakes, yeah. It was fun. It was a good race. I think we both thought it was going to be a good race. It was a good race, so.
Yeah. And those grid penalties made good fun.
Yeah.
So why don't we finish up here with who's your driver of the day? We'll go with that.
Driver of the day. It's gonna be Max again. I mean, can't really give it to anyone else. Russell, I mean, he moved up one spot, but Max, from 14th to first again it's a great accomplishment. With their car this weekend, I kind of thought, I predicted him to win the race. I kind of expected it to happen, so I'm not like, surprised by it, but it's a very good thing to do. So I'm gonna give him driver of the day. I don't think there's anyone else really you can do other than him.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. You actually you aced our predictions after Saturday. Our Saturday qualifying, you predicted final podiums being Max, Checo, Sainz, dead on. I said Sainz, Max, Perez.
Yeah.
I thought Sainz was going to be able to hold on. I think Max just the Red Bulls in general.
Yeah.
Just
I said Max would be winning by lap 20. No, it took him 12. So.
Yeah, and
I think I've said Charles should be P5. I'm pretty sure I said that, but I also said I could also see him getting 6th or 7th because something happens, and it's like I willed it into existence, I think. So I said I think P5 should have been the absolute minimum he finished this weekend, and he got 6th.
So, yeah. Which is unlucky. So for me, I'm kind of have to go Max for driver of the day. But so I'll go with that. But I'm gonna give an honorable mention to both Gasly and Albon.
Yeah.
Again, Gasly pit lane to P9. He had a stunning race. He had a great race. I think he only did 2 stops instead of 3, or something like that. He did a 1 stop less, I want to say, or because he stretched his mediums out for crazy long at the end.
Yeah.
But that's a great run. And then Albon back in the points. I know he went down the order, but he did a great job holding off. He was under pressure the entire race. I don't think there was a single second he wasn't really under pressure from a driver, and he handled it.
Yeah, and to be honest, just looking at the qualifying times too, is Albon qualified P9. So yes, he fell down the order because of grid penalty. I mean, he's moved up the order, because of grid penalties. But realistically, theoretically, he finished right where he should have finished, 9th or 10th. So he had a really good race. He didn't really lose any spots. He technically lost a spot, but I still think P10 is realistically where he could have been, and that's where he ended up. So
he made Q3 and he got points.
Yeah,
can't go wrong with that.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's all we have time for today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the race. Hopefully, the next weekend in Zandvoort is going to be a great race. It's going to be a great environment. We know that it was electric last year.
Yeah.
So we will see you guys all next weekend.